Hello and welcome to another fun-filled episode of the Nonsense Retrospective. I'm your host as always, Rick, and joining me equally as always is Devon.
Ah, shit, I forgot to Google a 14 quote. Welcome to the Rising Stones? Waking Sands! Waking Sands! There we go.
Get your ass back to the Waking Sands.
Get your ass back to the Waking Sands, sit down and drink your goddamn tea. Or in my case, orange juice.
Yeah. If that's not clued you in, we're going to be talking a little bit about FF14. And today, specifically, we're talking about the brand new Endwalker expansion. And double warning, we're going to be talking spoilers. So if you've not played through the entire expansion, maybe click off now and come back when you've seen it.
Although by the time this comes out, it's going to be the new year, so I'm going to assume most people are busy doing pandemonium.
Well, either that or, they're still in the queue.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be fixed by then.
Fucking won't.
Right, there's the opportunity to have aged like wine or aged like milk come up on the screen. Let's see, who's taking bets?
Aged like cheese. Split it down the middle.
I believe that's honey, is when you're splitting it down the middle.
Okay.
Doesn't matter how old honey is, it stays the same.
Yeah. But before we get any further, let's get into our time-honored tradition of the nonsense, asinine hypotheticals. And do you have one for me?
I do. It's related to Final Fantasy XIV, very specifically.
Okay.
So let's get into it. Any Final Fantasy character from any of the Final Fantasies that has not already appeared in 14 in some form, who do you pick and who do you put into 14? Now, what I mean by this is characters that actually show up, like Kefka and Fran, or you also can't take, like, Cloud or Squall because their outfits show up.
Sure. One of the ones I really like is Faris, but she's going to be difficult to bring in. But the one that might actually fit is Terra, because she's a half-summon.
Yeah, Terra's in a weird place, isn't she?
So like a half-primal person would be a very good thing to put in, especially in this new era that we're going to be walking into. So having a half-primal person now that primals are no longer a threat, as it were.
Yeah, although we still have to kill them from time to time.
Oh, yeah. But only when they're evil. And now we've got a way to make ones that are not evil. So having a new version of Terra, even if it's not the original one, but like a FF14 take on that character, which is what they tend to do anyway, would, I think, be a very good way of introducing someone like Terra, if not Terra herself.
Sure.
So, yeah, Terra is my answer.
You've knocked it out of the park, because I wouldn't have even gone in that direction, but then again, I'm a massive FF9 fucking fanboy, so...
Well, I mean, if you're talking about someone just to fight as a boss, just to bring in that character and have for fun, then Kuja's a pretty fucking good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm talking about someone who I'd rather have as a potential ally, the way that Fran is in 14. Like, she's there, she joins for, like, part of a raid, she's friendly, and yeah, she's there. She doesn't join the party, but she's a friend.
Yeah, I get you, man.
But yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Have you got one for me?
Yeah, it's one that you asked me last time we had a Final Fantasy episode, and it's, who is your Final Fantasy waifu?
It's such a difficult question to answer, because they're all pretty good. Well, the ones above the age of 16, at least.
Yep.
It depends. Do I go for my warrior woman thing, or do I go for the slightly furrier version of my warrior woman thing? That's the question.
It sounds like you have one that satisfies both of these.
I do, technically, but she's kind of taken. I don't know, man. It's always been a toss-up between Freya or Beatrix from 9. Like, Beatrix encompasses the best of the best a warrior can be, but then you got Freya, who you actually spend time with, and you appreciate the character quite a bit. Plus, she is soft and fluffy and would probably be fun to hug.
Yeah, you want to give them both a hug, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they both win in the end. Like, Freya does get with Frateley, sort of, and Beatrix, it's heavily implied, does end up with Steiner. Let's split the difference and go Lulu from FF10.
Yeah.
Lulu is just such an obvious fucking bait character for hentai artists.
Yeah. I love the idea, though, that when she was being designed, it was the lead designer going, okay, interns, let's see how many of you are paying attention. How many belts does she have underneath the dress?
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
He just went mental with belts. Like, he loved belts in FF8 when, like, people had belts on their arms and everything, and then he decided, okay, we're going to do that again for FF10, but we're going to give them all to Lulu, and we're going to put them all underneath her dress.
So what you're telling me is that Yoshi P managed to smite him with the newest expansion.
Yep.
In all seriousness, though, if I got to pick and it wouldn't affect anything too negatively, I'd probably take Freya from 9.
Because even though she does end up with Sir Fratley, he still has to learn who she is.
It's such a heartbreaking story, but we'll get there when we get to the FF9 retro.
Yeah.
So, Rick, you mentioned it earlier, but for those who weren't paying attention, what are we doing today?
We're talking about Endwalker, and as we say, full disclosure, we'll be taking the majority of pre-Endwalker stuff as assumed knowledge, and since we're discussing Endwalker, the story beats thereof, there's obviously going to be spoilers. So if you haven't been in the expansion campaign yet, tread incredibly carefully with this episode of the Nonsense Retrospective.
We are more or less tackling things in order, though. So let's say you've beaten the level 85 duty, then once we clearly start talking about that, then you can probably click off and come back later.
Yeah. There might be a couple of call forwards when we're talking about things, but generally we're doing things in order.
Like, there's 2 zones where there's definitely going to be call forwards because we come back to them.
Yeah. And normally we talk about our previous experience, and we both came to 14 when Shadowbringers came out a couple of years ago. Spent the first couple of months getting through ARR, and I make no secret of being not at all a fan of the gameplay, but the characters and the surrounding story save it for me, and that really says a lot and in terms of how much the game can grab you in one way and repulse you in another.
I'm not quite as jaded by the combat system as you are. I quite enjoy it. It's fine. It's somewhat intuitive. The high-end content, much like with the high-end content of a lot of games, brings out the worst in people. I also make it no secret that if I was to tackle high content in this game, I want to tackle it with friends. However, some of our friend group hold different opinions on that matter, so it's not exactly possible.
Yeah, I think the problem with high-end content is that when you are doing something hard in a normal game, you can just do it again if you fuck up. But when you're doing it with other people, you're dragging down every person that's in that group if you make a mistake, and you know when it's you that's made the mistake.
Yeah, and the problem with just finding a random group of people is you haven't got that rapport with them. You can't just be like, yeah, I can see I'm failing, I'm trying to overcome it. But if you're with a group of randoms, it's like, well, tough shit, do it in another group.
When you call your mate a dickhead, it's different to calling a random person a dickhead.
Yeah, I don't tend to call random people dickheads. I think it, but I don't say it.
Another little personal note is that while we were both here for the start of Shadowbringers, we were all late to the party and we couldn't have the new expansion experience. So in terms of that, this is our first time.
I believe it was 5.3 when I actually beat Shadowbringers. I can tell you the exact dungeon that had once I was caught up with the content in Shadowbringers, the newest thing that came out was Hero's Gauntlet.
Okay, yeah, that was 5.3.
Yeah, so that was literally like 3 dungeons before, Shadowbringers is over, we're getting ready for Endwalker, fuck you.
I mean, that was the one that drew a line under Shadowbringers itself. Like, the next 2 were the road to Endwalker.
Yeah. I can gush about that dungeon, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about Endwalker. Rick, let's get to it.
So, Shadowbringers 2 picks up where Shadowbringers 1 leaves off.
No.
Fighting the evil empire.
It's not Shadowbringers 2. Stop it, you.
It pretty much is, though. I talked about this with Eyes, and it very much feels like what Shadowbringers would have been if it wasn't on the first. It's got that same kind of style and level of writing, but with the original world, and obviously most of the characters are the same anyway, because most of them just went to Shadowbringers to begin with, but like all of them are here now, and it feels like very much what would have happened if this took place on the regular world. And yeah, so they're fighting the evil empire, or as they're now called, the Telophoroi, which was a story beat that I missed when it first showed up. And I was like, why are you calling them that now? And I just took it as read at that point. And that's to separate the actual villains from the citizens of Garlemald. And the Garleans are now seen as much as victims as anyone else by this point, and have undergone so much villain decay since being the main threat in the world, that the plot continues from the post-Shadowbringers stories of spoopy towers all over the world spawning fake gods.
I just want to point something out real quick. Bear in mind that the Garlean Empire as a place and as a people was so sympathetic pre-Stormblood that they had to devolve into no race war in order to get people to dislike them.
Yeah, like when Stormblood came around, like they had to play up how evil the Garleans were to make people hate them again, and they had to give you a face. Well, they had to give you a prominent heel in Xenos and also Fordola, and even Fordola got her own face turn.
Fordola, that name is fucking with me. Who's that?
She's Eorzean born, but a Garlean national. Like, I think she's from... No, she's from Alamigo. Yeah, she's born in Alamigo, under Garlean rule, and she stays loyal to the Empire the entire time. She's the one that gets given the fake Echo before they give it to Xenos.
Oh, yeah, sorry, her name escaped me. She's the Butcher, right?
I think so.
Yeah, cool.
Fordola Remblucas.
I don't remember her real name. I just call her the Butcher, even though I went through a whole fucking story that tried to take her away from that name.
Yeah, she's the Yorkshire lady.
Yeah, no, I know exactly who you're on about. It's just her name. I was like, who the fuck is that? The Butcher. Right, gotcha. Yeah, I know that. Yeah. She helped you when you had to do the solo instance with Lakshmi, but not real Lakshmi.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, continue. My apologies.
You start with the choice of 2 zones, but you need to do them both anyway. And the first duty is in one of these zones with an Indian flavour of the Magus sisters. And they're a pretty neat take on the FFX and FF4 summon, with callbacks to both games don't end here. 10 gets another summon shortly, but this is the first plot chock full of FF4 references, as much as Shadowbringers and the Crystal Tower are FF3 references. The main plot of the early game is to butt heads with Ali Both's father in the really nice town Charlian, and to develop an anti-tempering talisman, which can now allow any jobber to fight a primal without getting brainwashed.
Okay, which order did you do these in?
I went to Thavnair first.
Interesting. We both did this the opposite way round.
Okay.
Yeah, I stayed in Charlian because I accepted both quests at the same time, as you do, and because they mentioned that they were going to fuck off to a different zone for the Fafnir gang, I was like, cool, I'm going to do you second because I want to stay in Charlian, and then I went somewhere else anyway.
Yep. Well, I thought it was one of those where, okay, I've seen Charlian already. I've already done bits here. I kind of want to get as many Aetherites as I can, so I went to the other place first.
I feel you.
And then I did stuff there, and it was like, oh, okay, you need to do other stuff before you do this next quest. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. so I then left.
Yeah. Man, going back to that first dungeon, though, fuck, am I glad I did that with the trusts.
Oh, yeah.
There is, like, they like to sprinkle it throughout, where there's a lot of attacks nowadays where there's no marker on the ground, you've got to look at what the boss is doing. They fucking turn that up to the fucking 10th degree for this first dungeon. Like, if I wasn't, like, on Fancred's arse, I wouldn't have known where to stand. I would have got mullered, and I would have let down a party because I'm a healer. So, if the healer goes down, unless you've got a really good gunbreaker or a really good warrior, the party's doomed.
Yeah. Or new paladin's pretty good at healing as well, isn't it?
Yes, but no. Like, they're good, but they're not comparable to warrior and gunbreaker, whose healing is part of their combo.
Yeah, gunbreaker healing is part of the combo, and they've even got a button for it for a bit of regen if someone's actually struggling.
Which, okay,
I actually used that in Trust a couple of times when my healer was struggling, so I gave them a shield and a heal.
Alright, fun fact, guys. If you're going to go through the Trust system as a healer, if you have the option, select Graha as your tank because you have to heal him more.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, when I was playing it with Graha, don't put him as a healer because he's shit and he dies.
I assume he's a white mage as a healer.
Yeah, he's a white mage as a healer. He's a white mage as a healer, black mage as a DPS, and a paladin as a tank.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he was an archer when you first joined you in Crystal Tower.
Yeah, but he was trying to hide his abilities, wasn't he?
Well, also, Bard is emphatically probably the most magical non-mage.
Sure.
In terms of, like, having the song magic and everything. So, like, having some amount of magic that's built into your innate abilities is actually a pretty cool way of playing.
Alright, listen. I'm a level 30 archer. I don't like playing a class that I can play in real life.
Well, I mean, you can't really sing that well, so becoming a bard is the way to go.
I will show you the video of me singing Bohemian Rhapsody with the rest of the crowd. There's enough people singing, you can't tell I'm shit. But for real, though, like, the archers are laughable in their ability distance because it's like, oh, you got to be 20 yards away at most, and it's like, I can do 20 yards. That's about meters, right?
Yeah. It's almost definitely that because a yalm is a yard, and a yard is 91 centimeters, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. I also want to point out that I will give FF14 some credit with their archer class in that the archers don't do a lot of stupid bullshit that you see in films and cartoons when they're firing.
Like backflips.
Yeah, when they're firing their bows, they've got their stance is pretty on point. Of course, then you got all the magic shit, and sometimes they do weird flippy shit, but that's fine. It's a fucking video game and it's fantasy. But I do appreciate that the basic standard shit is actually what basic standard shit would be.
Yeah. The whole thing where you triple wield arrows like Wolverine claws, knock them all at once, and then shotgun it.
Like, the only way you can actually do that, like, you can't really fire 3 arrows at once and all 3 arrows be accurate. That's just not possible. What you can do is if you have multiple strings, and this is still going to be hard to do, but not necessarily impossible, you can have 3 arrows knocked and fire 3 arrows one after the other, but you need multiple strings.
Yeah, I think the closest thing you can do to that is have a repeater crossbow, really. really, isn't
Yeah,
it?
in which case it's not a bow anymore.
Yep.
It's a gun, but not quite. But it's one of those things, people are like, oh, it's a crossbow, it's not as deadly as a gun. And it's like, no, it's just as bad, except this time you can fucking regain the ammo.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah, next it's off to Garlemald, and I gotta say, after doing castrums all across Eorzea, which, might I stress, are temporary installations, I was expecting something a little more grand from the Empire's capital city. I was expecting a Magitech metropolis trying to emulate Amarot in all but spirit. We got snowfields, war-torn rubble, and refugee camps, and after building it up for years, I was expecting it to be the final zone of the expansion that you go there in.
I didn't think we were actually in the capital. I thought we were in, like, the outskirts.
Yeah, so it's the outskirts of the capital, but like the only other part of the capital that you see is the tower.
Yeah, but to be fair, it's the tower.
Yeah.
It's the thing that's the problem.
Well, when I say tower, there's two ways of saying tower. There's tower with a capital T, and yeah, it's the Imperial Palace. But yeah, the Imperial Palace is on the horizon, and you spend your entire time here finding excuses not to go and beeline it. The biggest barrier to this is the First Legion's Legatus Quintus, a super traditionalist and the last bastion of Imperial values you'll ever meet.
Also, like, the cheapest way to get the cheapest of heel heat, I'm going to put these electric shock collars on your two most precious members.
Yeah. And if you fuck up...
I absolutely hate the fact that he straight up says, no point in putting one on you, he won't feel it. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I take Alisei and Alphalo into these dungeons with me. How come I can feel this shit, but they can? I'm calling bullshit on that. But at the same time, I kind of don't want to test that theory.
Yeah. Like, I went in there as a tank, and I'm like, yeah, fair enough. You can do 1,000 damage to me, and I'm not going to feel it. Do 1,000 damage to a normal guy, and they are dead.
A point that they emphasise a little bit later on. Like, literally in this zone.
Yeah, literally in this zone. Oh yeah, the Garleans have accidentally also invented the thing that you just spent the first fifth of the expansion inventing.
Yeah, the radio shit.
Yeah, they just accidentally have a radio that protects them.
But it doesn't always protect them, because it proves to be their undoing later on.
Yeah. But once you run out of other reasons, it's time for the climb, the second duty.
Before we go to that, I've said this to you, I've said it to Chris, I've said it to Matt, and I'll say it to anyone who listens. I absolutely hate the fact that the game tries to make you feel bad for the shit you did in ARR.
Oh, yeah. The part of the refugee camp stuff is they have you go around talking to the soldiers and trying to make you feel bad. And, like, one of them goes, oh, yeah, you cut down my friends as if they were nothing. I'm like, bitch, you were on our land invading us.
Like, for real, if I did not... Hey, it's live or die scenario. If you die so I live, I'm picking that.
You had a gun in your hand pointed at my head. What did you want me to do?
It's not my fault that your fucking technology is shitter than magic, says the sorcerer to the artificer.
Yeah.
What you gonna do? Fucking stab me? Says guy who got stabbed.
Yep. Guy stabbed 15
like,
times.
It's like, I get it. They're trying to give them sympathy, which they already took away by making it a race thing, but whatever. But it's a wartime scenario. We did not attack anyone who was surrendering. It was an active combat scenario. Now, if during ARR there was a scenario, which would be fucked up if the game made you do this, but there was like a squad of dudes who are like, I don't want to die, I surrender, and then you kill them anyway, then yeah, I'd feel bad, I'm a war criminal. But that's not the case. You came at me, I responded in kind.
Yeah, although it is implied that some of your allies do that kind of shit.
I don't care. They're blaming me for it. I wasn't there.
Yep.
I could totally believe that the fucking Alamegans and the people from Limsa, who have suffered way worse than I have at the hands of the Garlean invasion, I could totally imagine them doing a fucking Saving Private Ryan where German soldiers surrender and they still get shot. Doesn't forgive it, but I can understand it.
Yeah, because the Limsa guys are just literally an entire city built out of pirates.
Yeah, I think it's only because Merwib is like, yo, we got to stop this piracy crap, they start stopping, as it were.
Yeah, because before that they were just boxed crooks, essentially. They were just pointed at someone worse.
Yeah, pretty much.
And now that someone worse is now no longer an empire.
Yeah.
They needed Merlwib to go, let's stop being evil.
That does remind me, actually, because we skipped over one thing that I want to point out. I really hope that you did a lot of content before coming into this expansion, because there's a cutscene before you go to Garlemald that is a lot shorter if you've done fuck all.
Oh, is that the one where all of your class trainers show up?
Yes.
Yeah. Most of my class trainers are extra class trainers, so
Oh no.
I only had like 4 people.
Like the only class I've not gotten to 50 and done a lot for is Archer, so they weren't really there. But there's a great fit because I'm a level 80 Dragoon, higher than that now, but not to brag. As if that's a brag. But it's like, oh yeah, the Lancer trainer was the old Azure Dragoon. I forgot that.
Yeah.
And now he's like fucking talking shit to Astinian. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, that cutscene made me actually remember that, boy, I did enjoy the Stormblood cast. Well, 3 good ones in a row. I don't want to keep us bogged down too far, but there is a point later. I'm going to do one of those jump forwards very quickly, because we're talking about previous characters. Can I tell you how fucking happy I was when Sid called out the very thing I was complaining about just as I was complaining about it? All the characters show up, and I'm just like, we're working on a spaceship. Why the fuck haven't we called Sid? And Sid comes in, and he just goes, you're working on a bloody spaceship, and you didn't call me.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Sid hadn't shown up in the entire expansion until that point, and I'm like, wait a minute. Was he meant to have died fighting Omega or something? I just like... And then, he shows up, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Isn't it really funny how they clearly didn't have Nero's voice actor?
Yeah. He's just stood there.
He's just stood there doing whatever motion Sid is, but not saying a goddamn word.
Yeah, he's like, smile and give a thumbs up. Go.
Which is weird, because it's Nero doing that.
Yeah.
I know he's chilled the fuck out, but I'm not used to casual Nero. Also, one final thing before we move on, because it's going to be the last time to mention it. They did not take Rauban or Gaius with you to Garlemon, and I am so happy that they at least gave both characters a sentence to explain why.
Yeah. For Gaius, it was a case of, I am still suspected of being the person that killed the Emperor.
And even if I wasn't...
Even though I wasn't, like, it's still not the right thing to do to go back to the Empire, essentially as an invading force.
Yeah, his exact reason is what you explained. He also said the people who don't think he's guilty might rally behind him to try and make him Emperor, and they don't fucking need that right now.
Yeah, they don't need an Emperor. They need a province, not an empire.
Yeah. And you got Rauban, and is his name Almeric? I've always iffy on the pronunciation. The Ishgard dude.
Yes, Sir Almeric, yeah.
They both say, if we go, we are quite clearly faces and well-known leaders of this force, and they will assume we are doing a full-scale invasion.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's like, these characters aren't going, here's why. Great, that's all you need to do.
Yeah, that's why they send Lucia, who is actually Garlean by birth.
It's very weird, because it's a very easy fact to forget.
Yeah. Until she takes her hat off.
Which I don't think she does once during this expansion.
No, because you already know that she's got the little nipple underneath.
Oh, don't call it a nipple!
Yeah, it's a forehead nipple.
No, it's a third eye.
Yeah, it's a forehead nipple. It doesn't have a pupil, it's a forehead nipple.
Do you want to talk about anima?
Yeah. So you climb...
It's called the Tower of Babel, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is the Tower of Babel, which is one of the many FF4 references.
Or, a references to God.
Yeah, but also they called it that in FF4 when, you were climbing up towards the moon. And anima is there, and it's very much like the FFX incarnation, but this time realized as the deceased Garlean Emperor fed ether from all the towers around the world and prayers from a militant atheist society that believe in mortal people. So, kick his ass and use the teleporter that's conveniently behind him.
We should probably point out, because I've had this discussion, I've got to keep saying this, I've had this discussion with like 5 people of, boy, was it a twist that he was a duty boss.
Yeah, I was expecting that to be a trial.
Like, it got to the point where I beat the trial, and I was like, okay, but we didn't really kill him. We, wounded it, and we're going to have to do it again, aren't we? No?
Yeah. No. Like, you could see that kind of thing being that, they use all of the ether to just re-summon the same thing, but stronger.
Yeah.
And no, he's gone. They use the ether.
As an aside, I legitimately felt incredibly bad. Boy, that's not good English, but it's going to have to do. About the former emperor, because that's a fucked up fate. You want to talk about fates worse than death?
Yeah, having your corpse used to summon a copy of yourself that's then used to brainwash your citizens.
Oh, we didn't talk about the cool thing just before. Well, I say cool thing, miserable but cool cutscene thing that happened before this with Van Daniel and Xenos.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the stealth sections.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking. Well, we got the stealth section with Thancred and the thing with Fandaniel and Xenos where they put you in a corpse.
Oh yeah. So there's multiple stealth sections in Garlemald. Like, this is the bit that introduces them and the bit that overuses them, and I think you get to do it like twice after this. But yeah, the two that stick out are the one where you get to be Thancred, who has a stealth button, and it's great, and one where you are a nameless soldier while Xenos pilots your body, and you get to have the abilities of a level 1 gladiator and scavenge a battlefield for little bits of potions and explosives and stuff, and just generally have a miserable time.
Yeah, like a couple of people will defend this, and I feel like they don't hear the complaints. Like, they're like, oh, the story surrounding it's great, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, the story surrounding it is awesome. I've got no complaints in that department. The section is ass. No one in their right mind would be like, yeah, I want to play that section again. No, you fucking don't, you liar. If they'd done it like Thancred's is done right, because Thancred, it's very easy to forget because he's been a gunbreaker for a while now. He's a ninja, and he gets to combine ninja skills with gunbreaker skills, and it's cool.
Yeah. It's a really cool way of like combining every skill that character has. Because even when you see him like be in a trust in Shadowbringers, it doesn't play it up very often, but he still does have some of his ninja skills. Like that one time when you're doing the little tightrope thing.
Yeah, Don Meg.
In the fairy zone, and he just does the ninja teleport to skip it.
Dude, like, that's the best use of the trust system ever, though, is all those characters react different reactions.
Yeah. Like, Miniphilia is just tiptoeing so slowly that she will always fall.
she will never make it across, and Alphino is the same. Actually, Alphino's different. Yeah. Alphino, if you somehow let the time run down, he will make it across. He will just put his foot on the other side as the party fails. And Alice is just like, this isn't real, so fuck it, and just sprints across it like a Naruto.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. Like, it's one of those things that trusts are a very good way to get extra bits of story out of the characters. Like, you can get that little bit of extra characterization that you wouldn't normally get, because obviously if you don't bring that character in, you don't get to see that. Like
in the Tower of Zot, which is the first duty, you're pretty much locked to Alice. You're pretty much locked to Alice and Estinian as your DPSs. If you've got both of them together, because you're either a tank or a healer, they are constantly talking shit to each other, because Estinian's like, try and keep up, and Alice does the exact same thing whenever she gets a bit of a head up.
Yeah.
Because they're still at that stage in their relationship where it's just like, I remember you called me rugged, bastard.
Little shit. But yeah, the next section would have been my favourite if it weren't for the one after. If Square were trying to keep the moon secret, they shouldn't have made it the first opening shot of the cinematic teaser trailer, and Fandaniel's plots are a never-ending tower of, if this doesn't kill everyone, then that's fine, because it's a stepping stone to my next plot.
Oh, very sorry. I'm going to keep doing this, because every time someone gets mentioned, I remember. Before Tower of Zot, you get the very real and very important first actual revelation of information that Fandaniel is actually Amon.
Oh, yeah. So a random, like, sub-boss from one of the FF3 Crystal Tower quests, and I looked it up, and apparently that character was in the original FF3 as well as an optional boss.
Okay.
And yeah, he's in this. Amon is the head scientist of the Allagan Empire, and implied to be the one that made it so that Zande was A, resurrected, and B, now immortal.
Yeah.
Or thought he was immortal.
Yeah, they're in the Crystal Tower raid. You fight Amon just before you fight Zande, except the Amon you fight there isn't actually Amon, because before he became a Fandaniel and got talked into it by Emmett, allegedly, he made a shard or clone of himself, so the Amon you fight back then isn't actually Amon.
Yeah, it's just a clone, apparently.
But it was really quite...
But there's no way of knowing.
It was really quite funny, because when he said, when he revealed his name, I went, no, fuck you, I have your hat.
Yeah, because I remember you saying that you had that hat before the expansion started. I'm like, who? And you're like, Amon. And I'm like, who? Amon. Okay. And then, you've done a pretty good job of making that hat work with your glamour.
It took a while, because it's such a stupid fucking hat. Also, thank fuck for Nibs from our guild for reminding me there's a visor button, because if you don't have the visor up, you've got this stupid pair of fucking goggles on. And I was just like, man, if it weren't for these goggles, this hat would be awesome. And Nibs just went, there's a visor button. Get rid of those goggles, they're fucking shit. They ruined the hat. which is saying something, because the hat itself is ruining.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
So the towers make lunar primals, which left unchecked could have killed a lot of people, and now you can solve those. Anima got all the tower power and brainwashed every faithful Garlean to commit toaster bath as violently as possible, tearing down the world as the Empire has fallen, but you dealt with that, and he uses the released ether from beating Anima to blast the Seal and Zodiac on the moon.
Didn't quite manage it, did he?
Didn't quite. He got 5/6 of the way through, and by the time you get there, the Caretaker's already repaired one of them.
Yep.
And when you get there, I don't know if anyone was expecting lunar outposts. I definitely wasn't expecting the moon to be inhabited by countless wandering souls, sacrificed eons ago and waiting to be consumed, but hearing the Amarot music again tugged my one little heartstring.
I'll be absolutely real with you. Pre-trial, the moon was a very miserable experience.
Kind of, but I liked the fact that you when you had the music, you thought, okay, this is home. You know what I mean?
No, I didn't feel that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just didn't. It was just such a chore to traverse. That's all I could think about.
Yeah, fair enough. You fight Zodiac after some faffing about, and this is another weird thing where it's kind of a disappointment after how much it was built up over the years, but it makes sense within the pacing of the expansion. You've already dealt with Elidibus, its heart, leaving it a mindless husk. Fandaniel takes control to try and beat you, and it's another one of his if not this then X plots. Either Zodiac rampages and wins, or Xenos takes Zodiac and wins, or he takes Zodiac and wins, which is what he tries to do, or you win and cause the second half of the story. So, win and cause the second half of the story.
I've got a question for you. How many times did you wipe to Zodiac?
One.
Okay, I apparently had the best experience out of the 3 people I've spoken to, because Matt wiped twice, but he also had 2 Sages and 2 Reapers.
Okay.
No offense to people who are playing and enjoying those classes, but they are the newest toys, so no one's quite figured them out entirely yet. Also, you're 84, so you don't have the full kit. It's one of those weird things where they release these new classes, they're 10 levels behind, so you have to do an expansion's worth of level up anyway before you even get to play the new expansion. However, if you just go into Bosja and level up that way, which is technically the quickest, however mind-numbingly boring, you will learn bad habits.
Yeah, this is true. Well, I've kind of split the difference on this. I've power leveled Sage to 80, but not to 90, and it's let me learn how to play it at low levels by playing it in mid-level content.
But here's the thing, I don't do Bosja. Bosja is crap. I don't like Bosja. It's boring. However, I've also not done Sage because as a scholar main, my brain cannot equate. And again, I'll say this again, I think it's more of a problem to adapt from people who have played healers before Sage came out, because Sage is, if I recall correctly, because I've not played with it for overly long, Sage heals by doing damage.
I mean, there's 2 ways to heal. There's one of them is you get a low potency heal that's essentially, it's like vampirism, but you give the blood to someone else.
Okay, sure. Either way, it's different enough from how healing worked before.
Yeah.
Like, for me, my low-level heal is the fact my fairy's out all the time.
Yeah, there's active healing and passive healing. Like, the healing that you get from doing your normal damage is similar to the healing that you get from fairy or from white mage regen.
Like, I did some, it wasn't high content, it was level 77 dungeon with a friend of ours who was doing Sage, and it was his first time doing Sage in a dungeon instead of in Bosja or somewhere else. Or, sorry, first time doing it with people in a dungeon. I think he used a couple of trusts. And
Sure.
I was playing as a paladin. When I am a paladin, I will do my utmost to stay alive, because I am a tank. Which means if I go down to about 10% health, and I can see my Sage is struggling, I pop a quick clemency. I got told, I didn't get told off by this, but when I put this story in the Discord, someone else said, no, die before clemency. And I'm like, okay, that's up to you, but whatever. I popped clemency, and after the end of the dungeon, I revealed that no, I had to pop clemency a bunch of times, and I got told by the friend, you should have died because then I would have known I was doing poorly. And I'm like, no, that's not.
Well, like, yeah, this statement is me telling you that that you need to step up your game and find a way to heal faster, which is something that Sage has a problem with. In my personal experience, Sage has a problem with healing large amounts over short distances at a time.
Well, we actually had a discussion about this before our last podcast started, where as a scholar, I am a shield healer. The way you play shield healer is you're not supposed to play catch up with health. You're supposed to mitigate before it gets that bad. So in scholar's case, you pop down sacred soil, you pop shields. Don't constantly pop shields because then you're not doing DPS and that's bad. But you know, you're not supposed to claw back health so much as mitigate the amount of damage that's being taken in the first place. If you've got a warrior or a gunbreaker as your tank, you have to do a lot less work. However, if you have paladin's kind of got a new thing now, but apparently Dark Knight got nerfed, at least according to our former Dark Knight, now Marauder main.
Yeah.
But yeah, mechanics aside, I didn't wipe at all. I died a couple of times because I got knocked off the edge of the thing and I went, oh, fuck that up. And
Yeah.
But the fun thing about doing this content when it's new, first of all, you don't have to say you're new. Second of all, when you fuck up, everyone's like, yeah, of course you're going to fuck up. You don't know what the mechanics do yet. Boy, was that that was the worst feeling in Shadowbringers when you did Titania's trial, because Titania's got a lot of stuff that new players might struggle with.
Yep. And by the time we got to it, it was like 3 months in.
Yeah, and I'm like, hi guys, I'm new, and I'm a healer, so everybody groaned. And which is weird, because the healer doesn't actually have to do much in the normal. You're pretty much job as usual. Make sure tank doesn't die. But yeah, hey, all I'm saying is it was quite nice that everyone was new, so when everyone fucked up, it wasn't a big deal. It's like, yeah, you're gonna fuck up. No one knows shit. It was a bigger problem in the final boss, but we'll get there. Sorry, I've sidetracked us a long time.
The moon takes a long time because beating the final boss of the story, well, the story so far, happens at the start. The latter portion is somewhat of a cool-down vacation for players, playing around with the Loporrits, who are genetically engineered cute bunny people who look like if a Vieira got the Lalafell treatment.
It's one of those things where it's adorable to know that Heidelin made them look like that just because she thought it would be cute.
Yeah. The segment takes some time, but gives you some windows of insight into the past, and what they're trying to accomplish in the present. The final days are upon us now, and it's time to leave Aetheris.
Do you want to talk about the worst kept secret where they're trying to keep coy about who's sending them shit? Where even Y'shtola brings it up when she reveals it, but from the first moment there's like, oh, we've got allies on Earth and they're sending us shit, and it's like, well, that's clearly what Sharlayan's doing then. And Y'shtola even says it, like, it wasn't very subtle of you, it was quite obvious it was the Sharlayans, and a lot for it to like, how did you know?
Yeah. Well, it's even worse when the Sharlayans go, oh, how did you know? You've been to the moon. Oh yeah, Aetheris is the name of the planet, after so long just calling it Heidelin. And after a couple of fake-outs and wondering if they're evil, no, they really do want the best for everyone. They just haven't ever had food that isn't carrots, or lived anywhere that isn't a homogeneous moon pod, so their priorities are a bit skewed. Once they're sufficiently pleased, head home for the next disaster.
But leave Urianger behind, because fuck him.
Yeah.
I jest. But, you know, it was probably for the best that we left someone up there to try and help, and Urianger likes to be a verbose motherfucker.
Yeah. And he can teach them better than almost anyone else can, because I don't think Y'shtola has the patience.
even Urianger doesn't, because when you eventually meet him again, he is just so...
Yeah, you just meet him and he's slumping and he's going, these fucking bunnies.
It doesn't help that he's still in his fucking summer robes, and you're in Garlemald when you re-meet him, and he's just like, it's very cold, can we move?
Yeah. But yeah, back in Thavnair, people have been bursting into monsters based on emotional stability.
Before that, you get a little cutscene. Who did you pick for it?
You get a little cutscene. You get a bedtime story from one of your friends, and if you don't pick Grahatia, you're wrong.
Well, I picked Alisei.
You're wrong.
You can tell me what Graha did in a second, but what Alisei did was she very much said, in no uncertain terms, we don't want anyone to be a hero, nobody's sacrificing themselves, please don't be a tit, I will miss you, and then she buggers off.
Yeah.
How's Graha compare?
He spends a lot of time rubbing one foot behind the other and being coy and having a crush on you.
Yeah, Graha really wants the dick.
Yeah. It's really cute, and I kind of want to give him a hug. Which is why I picked him.
It was, for me, if it wasn't Alisei, I probably would have picked Alphino, because those two characters have just grown so goddamn much, and they're precious every time they're on screen.
Yeah, good old Ali both. Well, you said before the expansion launched that if you don't have a hug Alisei button, then you're going to riot.
Dude, Jesus Christ, at the end of this expansion, I was screaming at the screen, let me hug this character!
I said, I'll take that and raise you a dual-wield headpat Ali both.
Yeah.
But yeah, these monsters are completely incurable, but you can stave off the transformation with some quick therapy. This segment takes altogether too long and nearly made me lose interest. Revisiting an area is nothing new, but it felt like you had to sit here and take it while the writers tell you how bad this new threat is. But you deal with it, and Graha tells you that Elidibus is still on a USB stick in the Crystal Tower. which only you can now go visit.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Before we fuck off to the Crystal Tower, I do want to say my absolute favourite scene of the expansion actually occurs here. And the Sit Trap is brutally murdered. Everything is falling apart. Everything is crumbling. And you've got bright-eyed young adventurer Grahatia flipping that switch in his brain, and you see him transform from his usual happy-go-lucky adventuring self to the Crystal Exarch. And it is the coolest fucking moment in the expansion, bar none. I loved it.
Staff on the ground. Okay, this is how to be a leader. I am leading. Get led, bitches.
Like, it's so great, because it's very easy to forget that, no, this guy has been in charge of a civilization for 1,000+ years.
Yeah, like, he built a city, or rather, a city built around him, and he was just quite happy to be in charge of it. He didn't want to be the leader, but they all looked to him for leadership.
It's just such a great moment. I might be exaggerating a little bit, because there's some moments later on that are probably good contenders, but this was the first moment of the expansion where I was like, this is a defining moment.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a very good moment, yeah. So, it's back to the first you go. You say to hi to Reen and Captain Lena, and Elidibus's ghost sends your shade to the past to find some ideas.
I make no secret of this. I don't like Emmett Selk very much. He is a Nazi.
Yep.
However, past Emmett Selk, I fucking adore.
Yeah, because he's like all the good parts of the Kingdom Hearts dickhead.
Oh, Xehanort.
Master Xehanort, yeah. He's like Master Xehanort, but nice.
And, like, I might not have never really... Like, the guy's charismatic, Emmett Selk, now. And I understand why people are drawn to him. But it doesn't remedy the fact that he is a Nazi.
He became a Nazi.
Yeah, like, it's just like everyone needs to... It makes sense. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. You can see why he is the way he is, especially after this expansion. But,
yeah, he's had 20,000 years of darkest days. He's had a lot of knocks.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how many times I see it, whenever he lifts his arm up and just does a click and then does really cool, overpowered bullshit magic stuff, I orgasm a little bit. Yep. It is so cool.
Because we've seen it happen to our benefit before. Like, he did that and he plucked Y'shtola out of the live stream, which was something that took an entire expansion beforehand.
It's always impressive, it's always cool, but it's so funny in this particular instance because it's always trivial shit.
Yeah.
And he still does it all flashy and cool.
Yeah. Now, the moon would have been my favourite on the strength of its strong opening if it weren't for this whole segment.
It's good.
While the Loperites were a cooldown from the story overall, Elpis is a cooldown from the worries of the present day, and it's basically the Garden of Eden.
It is. I'm curious, because there's one or two, like, we know we're getting that Stardew Animal Crossing Island shit.
Yeah.
Where do you think it's going to be? Because it's either going to be somehow in Elpis, or it's going to be in the Labyrinthos, and I don't know which one they're going to do. Because technically the story's made it clear that you can't come back, but we can come back because it's a fucking video game.
Like, it's one of those where it's maybe implied that Labyrinthos is the modern day equivalent of Elpis, even though if it's not in the same place, anything that's now in the present is a shard of something in the past. If it's actually on a different planet or like on a small satellite, then it's possible that it exists out in the universe and it just needs rebuilding. So that could be a thing that you could do tens of thousands of years later.
I'm just saying, like, those are the two front runners for where that location's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
They're both used for the exact same purpose. We found this out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's a really nice way of calling back to the same thing within the confines of the same story.
Yeah.
The first two giants you meet are Hythlodaeus and Emmett Selk, both of whom can see your ghost, and Emmett fixes you up with a temporary and big corporeal form, so now you can interact with things as if you were normal size.
I gotta ask though, and please feel free to say no, you pervert. Which one would you rather lay with?
It's difficult. It's really difficult because I really like them both.
I know him slightly more, therefore I'm leaning more towards Emmett, but Hythlodaeus is hella cute.
Yeah, he is. And he likes you all the time as well. So you meet his shade in Amarot, which is one that's conjured from Emmett's memories, and it turns out to be so accurate that he behaves exactly the same way as the actual shade that you meet on the moon. And then, even then, obviously it's written within the same expansion, but yeah, it's the same guy when he shows up again. again in the past.
Here's the problem with Emmett. Emmett cares for you, but he's a tsundere. Also, if we could ever actually pick in, if you could pick from any of the 4 that you meet in a matter, I'd pick Vanat, obviously.
Yeah, I think everyone's picking Vanat. She's basically a Vieira without the ears.
Dude, my mind was blown when I saw her because I don't read too much into the lore as much as... Matt knew who it was instantly because Matt reads every bit of lore everywhere. I don't. So when Vanat showed up, I went, you're Heidelin, but that can't be right. Who the fuck's Vanat? I guess you're going to be Heidelin? Yep. I'm not sure. And then, oh yeah, she does.
Yep.
Man, that was an ADHD fucking fueled rant, sorry.
They're here to give Hermes a job interview for the position of Fandaniel, and we're introduced to Meteon, a little bluebird girl, who Hermes has mass-produced to travel the stars, and in his wisdom, he's made her run on emotional energy rather than ether, as everything has emotions, but only the Amorotians are so overwhelmingly strong in ether. It also lets her communicate with any being regardless of language, so that's a nice bonus.
Dude, do you want to point to that meme I showed you?
Yeah. You fucked up a perfectly good bird is what you did. Look at it. It's got depression.
Oh, jeez. Like, we're laughing, but I've said this to... A common theme, I've said this to many people. The moment you meet Meteon, you're like, she's such an adorable little puppy. How is the game going to kick her?
Yeah. It's one of those things where there's always the meme of, I've only had X for a day, but if anything happened to them, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself. Like, they're trying to elicit that response from you immediately, just so they can hit you around the head with it.
I am immediately attached to this character because they are adorable, they're cute, and they can barely communicate because they're overwhelmed by their surroundings. They are the embodiment of pure innocence.
Yeah, and they finally found someone who's on their level rather than a god.
Yeah, they're just adorable in every way, and I want to give them a cuddle, but you can't.
Yeah.
And
because as far as they're concerned, they think that you're just a familiar because you've got
Azim's.
You've got Azim's soul, or at least 7/14 of it. So yeah, exactly. But yeah, he sent her sisters out into the universe to find out what makes life worth living on other planets, because he's got the big sad about having to old yeller a bunch of other failed experiments, and he wants a smile from beyond the stars. Oh, and Vanar is here too, looking suspiciously like the avatar of Heidelin we met earlier that I forgot to mention because it was weeks ago.
I also absolutely adore the fact that the creature she cuts down in one swing is a boss fight in a level 80 dungeon.
Yeah.
So, just in case you weren't sure if she was a badass, here you go.
Yeah. You all sit down for tea. She deduces that you're from the future. She encourages you to tell them future events. Emmett doesn't like being told that he's going to jump full force off the deep end, but overall they eventually resolve to do the right thing when Meteon connects to the burb hive and gets the big sad, turns goth, and they all want to help. But Hermes has seen what help usually entails for experimental life forms. He goes all Papa Wolf, turns into a boss, takes her to the next dungeon. She resolves to retreat to the edge of the universe and cause every living creature to burst into monsters, but that's more merciful than letting them experience a life of misery.
May I tell you something right now?
Go ahead.
The trust for that fight blew my fucking mind, because I was like, okay, we're the only one who can come here. How are they going to swing it that we get 3 party members? I know we've got 3 NPCs, but there's no way. Oh my god!
Yeah. Yeah, saying to Emmett, you can do more than one thing, and he's like, yes, fine, I can tank, dickhead.
Obviously, you didn't take him as a tank. Do you want to know what tank he is? He's a Dark Knight.
Okay. Oh, of course.
And equally, funny enough, Vanart's a paladin.
Yeah, she is.
I find it so weird that she's a dancer as a DPS, though.
That is weird.
Like, because I took her in the other day because I wanted to see what Emmett's tank was, so I swapped them around. And
oh yeah, she does use the rings.
It's very...
Yeah, when you have to fight her solo, she just switches between different stuff, and the DPS thing she does is she lays down some DDR shit on the floor for you to dodge with rings.
I didn't even connect the 2 dots. I was just like, why the fuck are you a dancer? Dancers are trash. Sorry, dancer mains. But, you know. And Hypnodosis is a bard, obviously.
Yeah.
I said his name well wrong there. Sorry. I said a dinosaur name.
Diplodocus.
Sorry.
Sorry, fans of Diplodocus.
Oh, sorry, Bronchosaurus.
Despite your best efforts, Hermes lets her escape, setting history back on track, but not without erasing his own memory of the past, along with that of M itself and Hythlodaeus. He'd have gotten you too, and Vinar, if it weren't for a little bit of teamwork, leaving Vinar as the only Amarotine with any knowledge of what the actual problem was, and planting the seeds for her imminent plan. Ether blocks emotion, so beings with less ether can maybe interact with this better. Turns out this is what the limit breaks are, and years after the fact, and that's another plot hole because Elidibus can also use limit break too, lol.
Yeah, but Elidibus is kind of a special case. I just wanted to go back very momentarily. The thing that I appreciate most about the memory wipe thing is you actually get reminded that Emmett Selk is a fucking genius.
Yeah.
And not just him, also his companion with the fake out. It blew my mind.
Yeah, they're so used to doing this kind of on-the-fly teamwork with Azem, which is basically you, but more. And yeah, they have done this with you in the past. They're doing it with you now, and it's only now that they're revealing that they do this all the time.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Back home, Ali Papa has his face turn finally and goes from obstructive bureaucrat to actual dad. A couple of hours of fetch quests later, you have access to both the spaceship intended for the moon exodus and a path to the underworld, the live stream, the far plane, whatever you want to call the molten core of pure magic at the heart of the planet.
Oh yeah, you do have to do that before you do the next trial.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to get there. This is possibly the single best mission, in my opinion, because it brings back strong souls that haven't been able to pass on, and it's not all antagonistic ones. Many of your fallen former allies leave something to remember them by, and it's, if not a physical form, implying those with fewer regrets have an easier time passing on, and it might be the last time that some people remember Moan Breeder, Papalimo, Isael, Horchefon, and Minfilia.
That very last one, Minfilia, was the only one I guessed before they started doing stuff. All the others...
She's also the other one with the body.
That's true, but like the fact that she was guiding you, I'm like, you're Minfilia. Oh, you've done more than one thing. And yeah, once the final thing goes away, Thancred's like, bye. But he says it a bit more cutely than that.
Dude, if it didn't show up in Elpis, I was so convinced that the blue-eyed, blonde-haired dog was Minfilia's son.
Oh, that would have been awful.
Yeah, I was so convinced that it was Minfilia. And then it turns out that, oh yeah, they've been making these dogs for years. It's not.
By the by, thanks for bringing up Moonbreeder, because my god, I was so mad at Urianger early on in the DLC. Obviously it gets remedied just before this point, in fact, but at the very early on in the DLC, he admits that he went up to, well, didn't go up to them, but was approaching the chambers of Moonbreeder's parents and was preparing to explain what had happened, and at the last minute he got cold feet. Understandably so, I'm not criticising it, but it's still a scummy thing, so he pens a letter and then pisses off, and I'm just like, oh, that's fucked up, bro.
Yeah, because the worst thing is, they understand, and they just wanted him to be there with them, so they could give him a hug as well.
I'll be honest, this expansion got me to cry once, and that was when Urianger was in tears. It's just like, fuck, this is literally 4 expansions in the making. 4 expansions you've not spoken to these people because you were scared. And you didn't fucking need to be. And it's so real, it hurts.
It is, absolutely.
But yeah, sorry, we were never going to mention Moonbreeder again, so...
Neither is the story.
No.
You do get to see a picture of her in the credits, but that's about it.
Yeah.
We get to fight Ammon again, making him the most refought boss in an expansion with 3 attempts. Once as Zodiac, once as Hermes, and now as Ammon.
Well, Hermes isn't really him.
Yeah, Hermes is himself. Ammon has the memories of Hermes, but he doesn't kind of... I'll come to this in a second. All 3 of them are the soul of Fandaniel. Fandaniel as we know it, although Ammon never saw the memories as his own.
Yeah, because they weren't.
They weren't. Like, normally when an Ascian gets memories, they kind of merge and become like a Gestalt personality.
I thought you were going to say Gestapo.
They become a Gestapo personality.
Oh, Jesus.
At the bottom of the sojourn, you get to face Heidelin herself, and she would take your measure.
Whoa. I can't believe they brought Asahi's voice actor back.
Yeah. So they brought back Asahi's voice actor because they've been using Asahi's character model for quite some time. Yeah. And he brings this up, like, you've been walking around in my body and you don't even, like, Xenos doesn't even give a shit, and like I'm annoyed at that. You've been using my face to betray my lord.
Even when we got this character back the first time, I was like, this character has done so much shit that I despise them on principle. I'm just so glad that in getting rid of Amon, we also get rid of this fucker permanently.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I was just like, don't you dare try and play this as a face turn moment, because it's not. And they didn't.
No,
he is doing this for entirely selfish reasons. And if I had the option to pick a voice line, I would have been like, good, don't fucking come back.
Yeah. The best thing he does is gets rid of himself.
Like, he even says, I'm not doing this for you, I'm doing it for me. And again, it's just like, good, fuck off. I'm so mad. You're worse than a lot of villains that have tried to actually destroy the world.
Yeah, it's one of those where you normally when you wave someone, you do it with the palm of your hand. With that, you do it with the back of your hand and one finger stuck up.
You get the fuck out. Don't come back.
Fuckity bye.
But yes, shall we talk about the game really made me chuckle, because I was like, before you fight Heidelin, as you were saying, the entire party of your NPCs are going, yeah, we won't give up. We cannot do a misstep. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. You guys ain't fucking coming in here with me.
And then it's the first time you get to actually do an 8-player trial with trusts, which is cute.
It's also something that facilitates Urianger becoming a 2-part character.
Yeah. And he's able to use the class that he had in ARR, finally.
Yeah, you pestered me about this when you got to it. You said, Urianger becomes an all-rounder. Can you find out what his DPS is when you do it? Because I know you're a healer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a summoner.
Yeah, there's one other all-rounder, and it's Graha, and he's always an all-rounder. Yep. But yeah.
Although you're never going to use him as a fucking healer.
I tried it once and he was crap. He died. He's the only healer I've ever had die in a trust.
Dude, it was weird. Earlier on, I did a trust and Alice died, and I was like, I didn't know that could happen. This was when I was playing as a Reaper, so it wasn't even my fault.
Oh, tell a lie. I once had Alphino die in a trust and Alice revives him, and it's the only one that she ever uses a revival on.
That's kind of fucked up, but makes sense.
Yeah, it's fucked up, but it's actually really cute.
Well, I've also found out that Alphinode's AI has him prioritise Alice for healing.
That's also really cute.
But that said, if you've got Fancred on tank, then he doesn't really need help.
So Heidelin would take your measure. So you fight her in a friendly test of wills, heroes versus the closest thing you have to a god, and this really stuck in my throat because that's how she portrays it. But if you beat her, you kill her, and she tells you to eat her corpse.
Well, she doesn't quite say that, but yeah, I was so upset because going into this, I thought it was going to be, well, you said it yourself, she portrays it as a trial, and trials usually mean you're sparring. You've done this with her once already in Elphis, and that ended in a friendly draw. You're like, cool, you've proven yourself, Argos will let you ride him now.
Yeah. And this felt like really dishonest writing. Like, they needed to get rid of the last tie to the past before the expansion was over, and now it's gone.
I get what you're saying, like, but it makes sense in character that she won't admit that if you win, she goes away, because there is at least 3 characters in your party who'll be like, okay, I'm not doing it then.
Yeah. So with the sin of deicide on your conscience,
it's not the first god you've killed.
Yeah, but it's the first one that you like.
Yeah, that's true.
Because even, I think the most recent one that you might have liked wasn't a good person. It was the Moon Girl.
Oh, Sukomi.
Yeah, Tsukiyomi.
Yeah, but that was a mercy kill.
Yeah, because she was having her face turn and then she got snapped back to heal.
She wasn't having her face turn. She turned face by losing all her memories, and Godsetsu, bless his heart, tried his hardest. And then this prick came. This is why this prick is worse than most villains in FF14, and it's why I hold Stormblood, at least the latter half, in such high regard, because I hate this character so much. And it's like, I didn't like the plot turn. I didn't like the fact that she didn't get a happy ending, because fuck knows she kind of deserved it at that point, despite her villainy. Because at that point, at the moment she loses her memories and is this frightened little girl, she is not the villain anymore. She doesn't have those memories on her conscience. She does get them back before, but the second she gets them back, she turns into this Eidolon, which the whole reason why that happened is because Asahi wanted one so he could get Garlemald to war again.
Yeah. It's one of those that anything that makes you feel one way or another is good writing. So it was a good way of making you hate a person.
I hate him so much. So much so that when Amon was Fandaniel, he didn't have to try very hard for me to hate him, because I still hated him because of the body he possessed.
Yep.
I wasn't even the same guy.
Yep. So you use God as fuel, you hijack that rocket, and go to the ends of the universe to bitch slap a goth bird.
2 things. I know I keep interrupting. I'm sorry. First of all, you don't hijack it. You asked for it and they gave it to you.
Yeah, you you ask nicely. Well, you make a deal of, if we can fix it and make it go better, can you let us at least suggest another use for it? And he goes, all right, okay, fine. And by the time you fixed it up, you've revealed that this is the other use for it. And they said, yeah, okay. So we were told how to make this rocket by this same god, who is now saying that this is another way to save the universe. And if she hadn't have said that, we wouldn't have believed her. But because she did, we do. And therefore, this is the way forward.
Yeah, they won that vote by a majority, but it wasn't that much of a majority.
No.
But yeah, the second thing I want to say is, talking about random voice actors coming back, they got Garuda and Susano back for a funny little throwaway gag.
Yeah, which is weird because, like, none of them are, well, okay, the Susano one, which I think I said to this off camera one time, the first time I ever saw that written down was only written down, so I thought it was Susan Ooh.
Yeah, this is when we did the Persona podcast, you mentioned it.
Yeah. Susan Ooh. Like, that one was the current voice actors, but the Garuda one would have been from the time before the voice actor changed, so they didn't even have to get the same one for that.
That's fair, but
it was just any old shrill-sounding lady.
Well, something that blew my mind recently, and you're probably already aware of this, I didn't know Y'shtola was voiced by Sarah from Dragon Age, so, you know... Kudos to her.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But, like, they could have had any other Heidelin be the one to talk with Susano. They clearly just wanted Susano to be a hamming it up hamster. But, yeah, it was fun. It added a bit of charm to that cutscene. Now, let's start talking about the most depressing part of the entire fucking expansion.
Yep. The next part is the final zone. It's almost entirely devoid of life and music, but there are some shades of the fallen kept around as despair batteries, because that's grim. The new ones are the Ea, who are ghost people who attained immortality and got horrified by the, as far as they're concerned, imminent heat death of the universe, and wanted a way to be mortal again, to not have to deal with the horror of infinite existence beyond the end. And two we've already encountered before, the dragons and the Omicrons, which are the progenitors of Omega, who had previously clashed. One by one, the Scions sacrificed themselves to light your way through the zone, rewriting reality in some way. Most notably, Thancred's contribution is the existence of oxygen.
I absolutely think that all of them stick out. However, Estinian, Y'shtola, and Urianger, you can kind of hand wave. They didn't have that emotional oomph. In fact, I even messaged you when Thancred went and said, I'm after the point where Thancred dies, although he's quite clearly not dead because they're not making a big deal out of it. But I think Thancred's is probably the most badass one.
Yeah. Y'shtola even says, I know that you can summon us back, but don't.
Yeah.
And then you do.
Alisei and Alpha Node's one hit me very hard.
Yeah, it was meant to. Like, they were the ones that you could see making it to the end without having to do it, and then they do anyway.
Yeah. Grahar's didn't bother me too much, because Grahar's done this like 5 times now. I love Grahar, but for fuck's sake, every time he does something that's remotely sacrificial, he makes you do the same thing, and that is, promise me we'll do this afterwards. It's like, yeah, sure, buddy. I owe this like 5 times.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alphino and Alisei was a gut punch. And after Alisei and Alphino's sacrifice, they make you walk the final stretch.
Yeah. You can't even run. You can't even use a sprint button or anything. But that's also when the music starts.
Yeah, it's a real... They knew what they were doing. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And whenever you revisit the zone after that, the music is now still on forever.
Yes.
Like you've got... It feels more livable. Like, I wouldn't do Fates in that zone without finishing it.
Which is good. By the way, if you want a mount, there's one tied to Fates here.
Yeah, there is. I was sat there for 4 hours and it didn't spawn.
It was quite annoying because I was doing plot and the message box was filled with orange shouts of people saying, when so-and-so, and it was always the same answer of 15 minutes, but it never was.
Yeah.
We digress.
Eventually you get through things, have a really unsatisfying final dungeon, and the actual final boss of all FF14 so far, Meteon the Endsinger.
Okay, I just want to defend the final dungeon a little bit, because I agree with you as far as if you compare it to any other dungeon except for the level 85 one, because I think that's kind of on par for meh, but it's not very exciting to play through. However, the intent is quite obvious. The intent is to show you what Meteon saw that made her all fucked up.
This is true, however, I feel like other things would have made a better dungeon for the level 90 dungeon.
Give me an example, because I'll be honest with you, I understand where you're coming from, but you're literally the only other thing you have to do after this is kill Meteon. So
okay, so I think the trip down into the live stream would have made a better level 90 thing than
but
this.
You can't swap those around because of the story beats.
Yeah, okay, so I know you can't swap them around for the purpose of the story, but like I feel like whatever it was called, like La Ra or Ra La, whatever it was, I think that was a really weak final boss of the final dungeon before you do the final boss.
I actually agree with you on that one. I think they should have reversed it. I think you should have started with that one, which is relatively peaceful death of a place begging for it, and the last one should have been this is fucking grim, everyone's dying of plague and you can't stop it. I think like if they'd just done that simple switch, the dungeon would have had a bit more oomph. I do get where you're coming from. As far as the actual dungeon gameplay is concerned, it's on the weaker side of things. The plot, however, it makes sense. They're trying to show you a snippet of the thousands of worlds that she visited that were fucked up.
Yeah. 3 other worlds that you're not seeing outside. Like you've seen the air, you've seen the dragons, you've seen the Omicrons. Now she's showing you 3 more, and like
she's actually showing you the actual devastation that was there without her even interfering.
Yeah. Apart from with Ra-La, because she kind of did interfere with that.
Is it implied that she made the golden beasts?
Maybe so, yeah, because like I think part of her power is that she can make creatures.
Maybe so, because the End Days literally does that.
Yeah, and what they wanted was a swift end, and that's what Ra-La is. It's something that gives a swift end.
I'll give credit where credit's due. As far as swift ends goes, it's literally this monster looks at you, goodbye.
Yep. Oh, and Xenos helps, and I kind of hate it.
I really didn't like that plot beat at all. I'm with you on that. I don't like the fact... I love the moment where you send the rest of the crew back to the ship and they're all like, why? And they vanish. I hate that you have to rely on Xenos to do the final trial.
And you drop your little remote that lets them all get saved.
Yeah, because otherwise you would have gone back as well.
And you just wink and say, fuckity bye, see you in a bit.
Yeah.
And then you have 5 minutes with Xenos. He ate the last bits of Heidelin that you weren't able to load up onto the spaceship.
That's the bit that grinds my gears the most. And like, I know Kral apologises for it, but it's like, you should not let that happen.
Yeah, like he was even allowed to do so by Kral by bargain. He came here to fight you, but even he knows that drawing your next breath is more important than a scuffle. But a scuffle you shall have, and after you take your final victory, it's a 1v1 that you can't lose because you keep reviving to full health with an ominous message that the flame of your life is spent.
I didn't know...
But there's no downside for hitting 1 HP.
I didn't know that, and I'm a scholar. I got killed twice, and that was the 2 times you have to get killed.
Okay.
But if I knew it didn't matter, I would have spammed my damage spells more often. Before we get onto the limp fart that is the Xenos fight, which wasn't quite a limp fart for me, because I didn't know you weren't allowed to die, so it was actually quite tense.
Were you forging diamonds within your asshole?
No, well, not quite that bad, but there was a lot of times where I wasn't doing any damage, because I was like doing my my heal rotation, sort of.
Sure.
But like, I want to talk about that final trial. How many times did you wipe?
Again, we wiped once, and it was because people were learning how to deal with the marbles.
My fight, we wiped 5 times. The only person who had completed it was the other healer, and they were a scholar, so we had double scholars.
Double shield healer is never
However,
fun.
It was fine, because I was doing emergency tactics instead of using regular shields, because I realised the other guy was using his shields as he should, so it kind of balanced.
Sure.
If your scholars know what they're doing, you can balance out, but it also means you can only heal as the non-shield healer once every 15 seconds.
Sure.
Unless you're doing off-global cooldowns, which I didn't use my off-globals for damage in this fight at all, because I was like, no, I need to heal because people don't know what they're doing, including me. Here's the problem, right? If you don't know a mechanic, you will not do it right the first time. It took me...
Yeah, you gotta trial by fire. You gotta learn it by failure.
It took me 2 wipes to realise that you have to pay attention to the blue marble. I thought they swapped, and that you do the blue marble then the green marble. No. So I kept fucking it up until I realised, oh, that's what you do. I didn't fall at all after the 3rd wipe onwards, because I knew all the tricks, because there was nothing new. However, not everyone is that quick at picking up on mechanics. It's just that simple. Also, the tanks used the LB like 3 times when they shouldn't have.
We were told that there was going to be a tank LB, so I had that in my back pocket until...
Yeah, that's cool. Pre-cutscene in the fight, our other healer was a massive fucking troll.
Yep.
We'd already used the tank LB because he told us to, and then we got to the cutscene and he started he messaged like 5 times, tank LB, tank LB, tank LB, and the tanks were like, we've already used it, and then the screen went black, and I was like, we haven't got to do all that again. And then the cutscene started playing, and I literally put in the chat, fuck you, you prick. And then he just and the best response to that was lol. I don't know if it's possible to even fail the fight after that point, because you're constantly getting random buffs. But
Yeah.
After that point, the fight's done. You're not losing unless you just stand in AoEs because you're an idiot.
Yep. I think the cute thing about that is that you actually get to see the one good blue Meteon bird pleading with the end singer Gestalt to stop. Like, one of them has already turned back to good, and it's probably the first.
It has to be. It will not have anywhere near as much of the emotional impact if you don't assume it's the one you met.
Yeah, like, I'm kind of half expecting her to turn back into a person as well. Like, having that as a playable race would actually be kind of cool in future.
I don't think it's going to be a playable race. That wouldn't make sense.
Okay, playable race in this one, maybe not. Playable race in FF17.
Maybe. But yeah, the reason I'm going to circle back just a little bit and also skip Xenos bitching for a second. Yeah, the reason why I think we might have those living planet type Animal Crossing worlds in Elpis is the very final cutscene you get, where the guy is talking about pandemonium, and that's in Elpis, the scene that is currently happening. And also we see the little blue bird where Meteon's alive, so maybe she can get back there, and that's where she'll take her normal form again.
Maybe so.
But yes,
man, the first time Hermes says that he sent out a bunch of Meteon clones to the universe, I'm like, oh, okay, that's how we got Garuda on our world, and how there's a Garuda in FF15 as well.
Yeah, I can see why you might think that.
Yeah, and then I got corrected.
But yes, the Xenos fight.
Yeah, you win against Xenos, and then you get slapped by Alice for taking too long. And showing up 99% dead when you just saved the universe.
This is why I say you need a hug Alice button, because she is in tears, and it's very uncomfortable to see a character in tears.
Yeah, she wants to punch you, but you're 99% dead, and that might be your last 1 HP. So.
Yeah. But here's the funny thing is, like, you got 2 lines of dialogue. I don't know what the other one does, but I picked the one is everyone okay? And that's what triggers Alice to get even more mad.
Yeah. I also picked that one. I think one of them is I'm back, and the other one is everyone else okay?
Yeah.
And yeah, that just speaks so much to your character's character, really. But yeah, that's when you roll credits, and there's a couple of little story bits after this. It sets up the future. The Scions...
Sorry, can I just say with the credit scene, I like how the very final credit is the Warrior of Light, played by Garland Shawfoot, in my case.
Yeah. I also took a screenshot of that, of just a picture of yourself with... Because you've had everything else is just character played by voice actor, and then the Warrior of Light played by character name. Dude, I think the only thing they could have done to make that even better is use your username as well.
Oh, yeah, that would have been good.
Man, the Warrior of Light played by Butts Rocks 99 or whatever.
Oh, no.
But yeah, the little story beat after that is setting up for the future. Now there's no more Zodiac and Heidelin, there's no more Asians worth half a damn, there's no more Garlean Empire, so there's no more need for the Scions.
Say there's no more Asians.
Okay, there's no more Asians worth a damn.
Okay, well, we don't actually... I think he still had question marks for his name, the final dude.
Yeah, and he was also in white, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't in white, he was in black.
Oh, is he in black?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, he could have been one of the ones that exist, he could have been one of the ones that's been reincarnated.
I don't know who it is, but my brain makes me think that it might be Azam, because we've never seen them, unless we have and I've forgotten.
We also, Azam is us, so...
Yeah, but we have his soul stone, which implies that there was other ones before you.
Yeah, true, but we also don't know when this scene is. We don't know if it's current or, like, past.
It's hard to say,
yeah, especially since it's on Elpis, so it could be either.
True. Talking about the wind-down stuff, I did enjoy the cutscenes of speaking to all the Scions before fucking off.
Yeah, you get to say goodbye to everyone properly.
We know Alice and Alphino are going to Garlemond. We know Astilian's going to serve the new satrap, or aka the old satrap.
Yep. The only satrap there has ever been, because everyone who's held the title has been a puppet.
Yeah. Graha is going off with Kryl. Tataru is staying in the Rising Stones to make a shop. Y'shtola,
like she's the new front for the new, not quite Scions, but really Scions.
Yeah. It's like the Scions are disbanded, but not really.
And
we've got Grahatia's going with Kroil. Y'shtola's going to hang out with Matoya because Matoya will get mad if she doesn't say hi.
Yep.
Last but not least, we've got Frankred and Yuri Anja, who are just saying they're travelling.
We're traveling the world.
Yeah.
Like, I tell you what, actually, the one thing that really annoyed me was when they say open the doors and have a look outside and whatever from the ship. I'm like, I was so annoyed that they'd gone back to Charlie and not the first.
But they haven't got that technology yet.
It's a spaceship.
But it's not space, it's a mirror. It's one of those weird things, isn't it? Because it's not actually in the world, it's a mirror of the source.
It's a weird thing where the sundering of the planets kind of makes it so that there are more planets now.
Yeah, but you can't access... It's weird, because the first isn't actually a different star, it's a reflection of the star you're on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Y'shtola even makes a point of saying that if her research goes well, we can all go back there and Frankred can hug Rin again.
Yeah. It's one of those where I thought that with the spaceship and the ability to go to the edge of the universe, that would be the first thing that they would try, is going back there, taking that little detour and going to give her a head pat.
Well, again, the problem is the first isn't actually another star in the same planet universe. It's a reflection and it's weird and you need magic to get there.
And Y'shtola needs to go and give what's his face a fist bump.
Oh yeah, the guy who's not the little son.
Yeah, the thirsty little tiger man. Yeah.
No one blames anyone for being thirsty for Y'shtola.
Little son.
Okay, for real. Like, I forgot she murdered him. That was a great scene. But yeah.
Yeah.
But because we mentioned it, we forgot to mention the great cutscene. Like, they had a couple of these, but the one in the first sticks out to me, where you're just hanging around waiting, so you bump into characters, you know? And
yeah, they just pop up, and the one that's really annoyed at you is Fey'Ul.
I love that pixie so much. I wish they had turned into their giant form so we could cuddle them.
Yeah. I can see her turning into the giant form just to get annoyed at you and then turn back again.
Yeah.
But it's a weird thing though, isn't it? The same thing that Fey'Ul suggests is exactly what Meteion is doing, giving everyone an easy, quick end.
Yeah, but Fey'Ul doesn't actually go through with it because he knows people and they tell him it's a bad idea.
Yeah. He says, I can do this if you want. All you have to do is ask. And you just say, thank you, but no. Yeah. Whereas Meteion doesn't give people the choice.
Yeah. One thing I like about Fey'Ul as well is we've changed their pronouns about 7 times while talking about him because she is everything and nothing.
Yeah, she's the king.
Yeah. And no one gives a fuck because they don't give a fuck.
No. They're from an androgynous race of pixie fairies.
They're also pixies, so they're all kids, so it don't matter.
Yeah.
They're all dead children. People seem to gloss over that fact.
Like, the only reason to care about the gender of a children is if it's your child and you're buying them a present.
I mean, yeah, even then, you don't really have to give a fuck. It's like, they don't like blue, they're a girl. I'm like, I don't care, here's a Chelsea shirt. They don't support Chelsea. They will now! But yeah, sorry, you wanted to do the wind down.
Let's get into our final 3. Do you have a favourite moment?
I said it in the episode, I'll say it again. Seeing the switch of lovable, charming adventurer Grahatia to the veteran Crystal Exar in the blink of an eye is an amazing standout moment. There are plenty of moments to point to in this DLC expansion that are great, perfect, excellent, but that one has just stayed in my mind ever since I saw it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, you brought it up when we brought it up, and yeah, it's absolutely something that needs bringing a bit of attention to. So yeah, it was a very good moment.
And I'm chomping at the bit to know, Rick, what's your favourite moment? Let's hear it.
I just have it written down in my script. 2 little things. Elpis lol.
Oh, yeah, that entire zone was precious. Not precious, great, excellent, perfect experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the only, well, I'm saying the only, it's the first area in this entire expansion where I had unlocked flying by the end of it, because I just wanted to consume more of it while I was there.
You know what, the funny thing is, that's the only zone I've not done the 4 quests for.
Yeah.
I've got all the currents, but I haven't done the 4 remaining quests, because I've not actually gone back
Yeah. I've also actually not gone back because, when you unlock flying, you don't need to go back anymore.
Only if you go together, really.
Yeah. Or if you just want to do the 60 Fates thing, which I'm almost done with Shadowbringers, finally.
Yeah, we need to fucking do a train of that one day.
Yeah, I need to do like 11 more in the final zone, and then I've got all of them done, and I can buy music discs.
Yeah, because until you unlock level 90, doing Fates in that final zone is worthless.
Yep. But yeah, my entire favourite moment is the entire Elpis arc.
I think many a person will agree with you.
Partly because it comes after a bit of a despair bit and before a bunch of fetch quests and another despair bit. Yeah.
Yeah, the fetch quests are never fun, but there is a lot of them before you go to the final zone.
Yep. We can't only talk about the good. Do you have a weakest link?
I do. The unfortunate truth is it's very near the end. The Xenos fight felt so out of place.
Sure.
It just it feels like it deserved a grander moment, and also it means Xenos wins. The fact that you give him a fight means that everything he's done up to that point has been justified in his mind.
He gets everything that he's done. Yeah, like he said when he was in Garlemald and his own people were calling him out for you've sacrificed everything and for what, and he goes, well, for nothing in the end because they won't give me what I want.
It's so annoying because they give you 3 options and all 3 are antagonistic and fighting words. I picked the one that says I'm going to kill you now because I didn't think the other options were quite strong enough. But if there was an option that was provided to me and they would never have done it because they need you to kill Xenos here, it would have been, no, I'm not going to fight you. You can stay here.
What I do actually enjoy is that he kind of mentions that all you have to do is turn away and I won't begrudge you that choice because in the end, if that's all I was to you was something to ignore, then I'll accept that too. But I don't think there is the option to just leave.
No, there's not. Because if you leave, you win. In the end, you win anyway because you beat him. But you don't win because that's what he wanted.
Yeah. And it's one of these things where he's essentially like 85% Ascian. Like I said earlier that a half primal person would be a cool thing to have. Technically, Xenos is already that.
I was sick of... when Xenos wasn't actually dead by the end of Stormblood, I was sick of him.
Yeah. And he's technically not dead now. He's like dying at the end of time. Like I think we talked about this with Sephiroth a little bit, that you're fighting the final boss one-on-one in a fight that you can't lose, and it's basically the same as Sephiroth. You can't lose. You're fighting him at the end and you just put him in his place. But the thing is, Xenos isn't dead. He's just on the floor dying, and he's in a form that probably can't die. He probably will show up again in the future.
Yeah, except he's in a location where he can't actually get away from easy. However, it's Xenos. We've proven time and time again, even if you see a corpse, it doesn't mean fuck all.
Yep.
It's one of...
All you have to do is get Asahi's next reincarnation to wish for him.
Oh, it's annoying. It's unfortunately a trait of Final Fantasies in general of we don't want to kill off a villain.
Yeah. It's even worse for online games that have got to be here tomorrow.
Yeah, like, this isn't to take anything away from 14. I enjoy 14, and I enjoyed the story of Endwalker a lot. However, the Xenos shit at the end meant nothing, and you couldn't even give him the final fuck you of, no, I'm not fighting you. You are not worth the time or the effort. But
yeah.
I just want to say, you saying that it's a fight you can't lose, it's the exact same problem of fights you have to lose.
Yeah. There's absolutely nothing on the line there, where if you have to lose, then make it a cutscene. And if you can't lose, make it a cutscene. Like, why bother making it controllable?
May I point to the most egregious example I can think of? Mass Effect 3.
Oh, Kai Lang.
Kai Lang was a nothing character that they introduced because they oh shit, we've got no villain, they can constantly fight throughout this game. Here's Kai Lang. Oh, by the way, you can never beat Kai Lang despite the fact he is nothing to you.
Apart from the time that you do.
When you do beat Kai Lang, you finish his boss fight and he's still not dead.
Yeah.
It's a as far as I'm concerned, it's a mortal sin of video games.
I think don't you punch through his sword and you go, this is for Miranda or Thane or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's usually Thane because Thane has to die by his hand, which is also bullshit.
Yeah.
But, it's just, I can't stand fights where you have to lose or you have to win. Why make it a fight then? I wouldn't have minded if they'd have actually dealt with Xenos in a cutscene and have it be a very cool cutscene, but no, you have to do it yourself and you can't lose the fight, so it doesn't actually matter. But yes, I've waffled about Xenos and the fuckery for too long. Rick, I'm sure you have the weakest link for me. Let's hear it.
For me, it's the fact that I was losing interest twice. At 85 and 89, at 85, it was because it was just a return to stuff that we'd done before, and we were getting a brick beat round our head that, oh yeah, it's bleak, ain't it? And then at 89, it's, oh yeah, it's bleak, ain't it? Like, the fact that we were so close to the end is what kept me going, but it just made me want to log out and come back another day.
You're saying 89, but I think you mean 90.
Well, yeah, 89, 90. So you get there at 89 and then you hit 90.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't mean the 89 trial and the 89 duty. I mean the post-89 arrival in the final zone. Like, the final zone before the music starts made me not want to play it.
I don't know, man. I don't like being miserable and depressed, but I did appreciate it on that final stretch because it made sense. However, I said it at the time and I'll say it again, there was no oomph behind Justinian, Y'shtola, or Urianger going away.
The fact that Urianger and Y'shtola had to group together because they needed to die at the same point.
Yeah, it was very
They
on the
both
nose.
needed to be gone, yeah. Urianger just went, yeah, I'm going to, like, I can't think of a better time to do this. Bye.
Yeah, like Graha as well. Like, it didn't hit me as hard as it probably should have because, again, Graha's done it 5 times.
Yeah.
Like, Fancreds hit me because Fancreds was badass. He didn't know what was going to happen, and through sheer force of will, he managed to overcome the initial blast of despair and gives you a chance. But then Estinian just kind of continues, and he's like, I don't care. I was kind of born for this. Y'shtola knows what's going to happen, and she's like, don't worry, we'll be good. Uyanja's like, we need to get rid of the party, so peace, motherfuckers. And you get to Graha, and Graha's going to do it, and he makes you do this promise. It's like, I've done this before, we'll be fine, go for it. You get to Alisei and Alpha No, and it's like, it hits me harder, but at that point, it's like, well, the whole party's gone, and I know we've got a level 90 dungeon coming, and I need a trust, so...
Yeah. It was a cute little way to bring back Emmett and Hythlodeos.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that the first people that you brought back with the power of Azem were your 2 friends from ages past.
Yeah. And it's also very nice that Emmett finally clocks on. He doesn't have his memories from Hades' time, obviously, but he's like, as soon as everything's sort of remedied as far as he can control it, he's like, now use your little stone and bring back your friends.
That's the thing, he does have his memories from Hades' time because it was his soul that helped you out during the Elidibus fight.
I meant the version that you bring back during this bit.
Oh yeah, it's the same guy. It's the full soul with the original memories and the new memories all cleansed by the live stream. So anything that's been erased has now been restored.
You know what? You're absolutely correct, and my brain's farting because we've been talking for nearly 2 hours.
Yes.
Although that might not reflect on the actual runtime of the podcast when we release it, but hey ho. But yeah, Emmett's cool, and I
Yes.
the one thing I don't like, but I understand why they did it, is where Emmett and Hyphlodosus, what's his name?
Hythlodeus. You can call him Diplodocus, it's fine.
Yeah, him. I don't like the fact they're like, I refuse to be helped by Heidelin's soul. I'm going to go away now. My home planet needs me. Like Poochie.
Emmett Poochie self.
Oh, Jesus. But, like, I get why they did it. They want to tie up the loose ends, but it's kind of like, he's just doing this out of spite. Fuck you. I want you in my life, you glorious bastard.
Yeah. I do like how he gives a bunch of sequel hooks as well. Like, have you ever been to blah? Have you ever been to blah? Go to the other shards. What you see might surprise you.
Yeah, it's kind of like a dick move, though, as well. Because it's like, we don't go there because we're busy saving the world.
Yeah. The carrot is being dangled elsewhere. But yeah, we get into the last one. Do you have an MVP?
It's a tough one, isn't it? It's a very tough one. I'm going to give it to Heidelin.
Sure.
We didn't know this, but retroactively they've made every action that Heidelin has taken to help you bin because of your connection with Vanar.
Yep. And they've also retroactively made them all correct.
Yeah.
So even the sundering was retroactively correct because only a sundered and incomplete soul has little enough ether to be able to use dynamis and emotion and to be able to overcome pure despair.
Absolutely, man. And I've got to be honest with you, one of my favourite moments is meeting Heidelin when you know she's Vanar. And I don't know what option you took, but my option was, you look different. And you share a very loving smile with her.
Yeah, from that point on, I only refer to her in conversations as Vanar. Like, you get more than one option to do this as well. Like, you get at least 2 times that you can...
Well, in fact, the option that I just mentioned, the other one was, hello, Vanar.
Yeah. yeah.
But it's just, I know the whole point of this expansion was to wrap things up, but I didn't expect it to do such a good job of it.
For the most part.
For the most part, yeah. Fuck, we've still got Xenos. How do we do it with him? This. But we'll not. We just spent like 10-15 minutes bitching about that, so let's move on. Heidelin gets the MVP, but you could give it to any Scion. There's a lot of side characters where you could kind of argue they deserve it, but I don't think it would be quite as warranted. So yeah, Heidelin gets it, but it was a very tough choice. So let's throw it to you, the very final piece of information we need to glean. Who was your MVP, Rick?
I don't really like it because of the last-minute deception, but you kind of do have to give it to Vinar. And for everything that we talked about with you, but I will say an honourable mention is going to have to go to Masayoshi Soken for the musical design. He was able to play my heartstring just like another instrument.
It's a struggle to argue against that, because every single time I'm in a conversation with an NPC, when it's a cutscene, not just a fucking brief little chat, the music always kicks in at the right place. It always changes at the right time. And even though I'm not quite as intimately familiar with certain songs, because a lot of the time when I play 14, if I'm not doing plot, I'm listening to heavy metal music on my phone. There's some music that, even though I'm not as intimately familiar with it, it tugs at my heartstring, because I'm like, I know this music. But it's not the same song. It's just got twangs of it.
Yeah, it's the whole thing about leitmotifs. Like Toby Fox does it all the time, that you can build, like, leitmotifs are the building blocks of music, and if you can build something out of that well, then you can build a bunch of different things out of it, like Lego. And he's done a really good job of that. And like Shadowbringers was his first credit as a
composer,
as the main composer. Like he's done composing before, but this is the first time he was the main composer, because before that Uematsu was still the main composer for all Final Fantasies. And it's only now that Soken is being able to be the main composer for the main series now.
I feel the need to point it out then that it was a post on Reddit that got shown to me by someone, probably Matt, where during a Q&A, something even Yoshi P pointed to was, please pay attention to the music because we have worked incredibly hard on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I joked about it earlier, but this is Shadowbringers 2. Like, this is the answer arc to the question arc that Shadowbringers was, and it really, really goes to show in the music. Like, a lot of the music that shows up again is because it shows up the first time in the previous expansion, and it's, like I say, it's like an answer arc to a question arc.
Yeah, I get you. I just feel like it's a bit of a discredit to call it Shadowbringers 2, even though I know it's coming from a area...
Yeah, it's from a place of love. It's a jibe in good fun.
No, I get you. Like, again, it's out of a place of respect, and like, no, that's a compliment, it's not an insult, but it sounds a bit like an insult, you know?
I'm not quite sweeping Endwalker under the rug by referring to it as Shadowbringers 2, but, you know, calling something good thing 2 is still a good thing.
It sounded like a buzzing, sorry. Yes, you are correct. Okay, at a whopping near 2 hours of record time, our longest retro to date, Rick, you know what to do.
Yep. If you have made it this far, well, absolutely hats off to you. You are our favourite people, our favourite person, our favourite listener. If you would like to get in contact with us, you have the comment section down below on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on one of the audio platforms, you have our email, which is
nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com. Once again, that is nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com.
And it's going to be goodbye from me.
And it's going to be a jolly farewell from me. And as an aside, Happy New Year, I think.
And get your ass back to the Waking Sands.
Oh, you bastard.